Hello.
Hello. Yeah, we can hear you.
Good evening, everyone, and everyone tuned into this space.
Great. We can confirm that you can now hear us. Alan Sempala, I see you speaker now. Can you confirm as well if you can hear us? Alan? Alan? Okay, we have one of the panelists. Let's just give this a few minutes, get more people to join, and then we can start the discussion. These are the important kind of discussions you want to have with at least some more people in the house. So just bear with us for a few minutes, and then we are going to start. As we also fix one of the other panelists, Alan's microphone, and the issues it has. So thank you, Patrick. Just music for a few minutes, and then you can hand over to Agatha.
Baby, just remember this. Don't you ever forget it. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Can't take it on. So I'm my mother's girlfriend.
I see Sempala has a microphone now. Alan, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. I think now over to Agatha, we can start. Get her back. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this space. Today we look at the digital number plates. For those not in the know, the government of Uganda has for some time now been pushing that the current type of number plates be replaced with what they call digital number plates for a number of reasons. But the main reason there too, as they put it, is security. That with digital number plates, once a crime is committed, they're able to track and say which cars were in that area at that point in time, and then easily apprehend the criminals or the suspects and address the issue. Okay, I'm also playing a babysitting role. Agatha, please take over.
Hi, thank you, Goodwin. Good evening, listeners. My name is Agatha Taire, and I am hosting the space on behalf of Agora. And today we want to revisit the topic of digital number plates, an idea that was born in 2018 after the rampant murders of some prominent figures. But almost 6 years later, the project is yet to see the light of day. After several postponements, on November 1, I think around that time, at Agora, we still had a space here about the many other concerns that Ugandans have about it, which include the money that is claimed to, they are planning to invest about $257 million, the procurement of the company, MS Joint Stock Company Global, a Russian company, and I mainly the issues around its handpicking. You cannot call it procurement. But also the feasibility of the project, the capacity of that company, the lack of due diligence, the financing model. There were so many issues that were raised back then. And the most important issues were the issues of data protection, privacy, and security in Uganda. So in November, when at what was dubbed as a launch by two ministers, Works and Transport, General Katumba Wamala, and the Security Minister, General Jim Mwezi, they set another deadline of February 1st, which is today. That was after the failure of 2 previous deadlines, and on which they said they would roll out the digital number plates. A moment. I'm sorry about that. I didn't want for the noise to interrupt. But I was saying that today, after 2 previous postponements, was said to be the last deadline day for rolling out of the digital number plates. Again, the digital number plates are supposed to cost about 740,000 Uganda shillings for new vehicles, both cars and motorcycles. For those who are changing on their cars, they are first, and the silence from government project is allowed, as it were. We bring experts on this issue again. We had Buni the last time. Buni Christopher is a computer guru and had tried to explain capacity issues and also feasibility of the project and what was needed, but had not been planned for that time. We also have Sempala Alan Chigozi, who is also a tech lawyer and a digital rights activist, to revisit those issues. But also, I would like us to discuss what we are losing as a country. Shouldn't we be happy that the company is failing to implement a project that everyone saw as a scam, to take money from people and invade their privacy and their data? I'm going to welcome the speakers now. Buni, you're welcome to the space once again. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Agatha.
Christopher?
Thank you very much. Yes, I can hear you, Agatha.
Alan,
Thank you very much
since
for...
you're the one who can hear me. Alan, please introduce yourself briefly, and we welcome you to this space.
Thank you, Agatha. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be part of today's discussion on Uganda's technology drive, particularly on focusing on the intelligent transport monitoring system. So this initiative is undoubtedly, holds promise for enhancing efficiency, curbing crime. It can curb crime. However, it's imperative that we also address any delays and concerns regarding data privacy associated with such ambitious projects. So I look forward to delving into these crucial aspects and exploring how we can ensure that technology advancements in Uganda are not only progressive, but also prioritize the protection of individuals' privacy rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Buni, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you all. I hope you can hear me as well.
I am not the only one who cannot hear Buni.
Agatha,
Am I
can hear
audible
him.
now?
Can you hear Buni? Okay, I cannot hear him.
I can hear him. He actually just asked if he's audible.
Hello,
Okay.
I am
Then
still
I
here.
must learn the problem. Buni, are you speaking?
Yes, I am still here. I would like to say thank you very much for having me back on this
Buni,
space
you still
again.
can hear him?
Yes, he's actually speaking. He's answering the question you
All
asked.
All right. Let me just maybe leave and get back shortly.
Sure. Buni, carry on with your introduction as Agatha comes back.
Okay, thank you very much, Agatha and Godwin, for having me here on this space. We look to pick up from where we left last time, and I think this is another opportunity for us to technically get into the status of the implementation of the digital number plates in our country. Thank you.
Okay. On behalf of Agatha, now let's pick it up from here. So as Agatha comes back, Buni, last time you helped our listeners understand what digital number plates are, or what the smart transport management system is, as they call it. So just for the benefit of our listeners who are not here or who don't remember while they were here, take us through this one more time. What is this the government is trying to implement, and how does it work? And in your view, what are the strengths and weaknesses, if any?
Thank you very much, Godwin. Now, for starters, the government is planning to roll out an intelligent transport management system comprehensively over the span of the next 10 years, with the digital number plates starting as the first, I could call it the first meal of the intelligent transport management system. So the digital number plates that everyone is talking about are actually just a component of the intelligent transport management system. The intelligent transport management system as a whole is a system of different sensors, technologies, software, and other things that work together in order to enhance management of traffic in transportation in any given area or location. So an example of what could constitute part of the intelligent transport management system could be things like the camera systems that Uganda Police has already installed, things like tolls that we already have, things like vehicle recovery systems that we have installed in some of the high-end cars that you see in Kampala, and digital number plates. So those are just examples of things that entail an intelligent transport management system. So in there you have different other components that now form mainly the software bit, things like facial recognition in cameras, things like number plate recognition systems, things like speed guns being incorporated into some of this infrastructure. All those are but components of this bigger, greater system called the intelligent transport management system that we have. For the sake of Uganda, the plan is to roll out first the digital number plates, which are supposed to be, in their definition, digital, with the addition of an RFID chip, okay, for which is basically your frequency identification tags added onto the number plates, such that these can be read and have a digital signature that is kept somewhere. It basically identifies you like your ATM card. If you walk with your ATM card and you swipe at a POS machine, and the POS machine is able to identify who you are, or if you have a biometric entry to any building and you put that card on a biometric lock and it gives you access to open a door. It's the same system that is being implemented, just on a wider scale. So in summary, that is what the government plans for your vehicles. For our vehicles, the plan is to have a chip on the number plate and then be able to recognize and identify this car or motorcycle at any given time as it moves around the country. So I hope I have been able to answer in brief what an intelligent transport management system is.
Agatha,
Godwin?
are you back? Yes, thank you, Bonnie. Agatha, are you back? Okay. As Agatha gets back, so Bonnie, I have a follow-up question for you.
Yes,
do we
please.
know places where this intelligent transport management system has been applied anywhere in Africa, for instance?
In Africa, I do not have any record of any country that has implemented the kind of digital number plates that Uganda proposes to install. Not in Africa. The examples that I have are test examples. I know in about 3 or 4 countries outside Africa. For Africa, I'm not so sure. Kenya just rolled out their new number plates that they are calling digital, but they are not like ours. They don't have the RFID chips as is being proposed here in Uganda. So I wouldn't use that as to say as a country in Africa that has an example. But if you go outside Africa, you could have examples. You had tests of this being done out in 2 states. I think California tried it out. Texas tried it out in the USA. We have a trial in German from a German company in there. In Japan, they're already using them, but they don't use them as they already do intelligent transport management system, but they don't do it as the digital number plates. They do it for their shipping yards and industrial zones, basically like tolls, like the tolls that we have on Entebbe Expressway, such that when the cars that are authorized to access the port come, you don't have someone physically standing to verify and find out which car it is. As soon as their cars arrive, the system is able to detect that this is, truck registration number ABCD that is already known here, and the security gates are open for it to get in. So those are the only countries that I know have done an implementation. What I want to point out, which is the example that I really want to use for this, is Bangladesh. Bangladesh did an implementation of a digital number plates similar to what Uganda is rolling out, actually the same, a number plate with an RFID chip on it. They did this in 2012. They did this in 2012, and as of 2018, they were having discussions to the effect that they had seen no significant advantage, or they had seen no significant advantage of having the digital number plates, and there were talks about it being recalled since it did not serve the intended purpose that they had wanted it to have. That was Bangladesh in 2018. So that's the only information that we have from around the world on digital number plates.
Okay, thank you. At this point, I must let our listeners know that we reached out to the Ministry of Works and Transport, the ministry in charge of implementation of this project, to get us a person for this space. It's interesting, and I must say this, that the last time we had the space, we reached out to them. They showed all positive signs that they would come up for the space. And on that very day, when we tried to call and confirm their presence on the space, they didn't get back to us. Since then, our messages go blue-ticked, and there's no response. It happened again this time round. For these conversations, we always endeavor to have people from all sides giving their opinions, and then leave it up to the listeners to make their decision. But sometimes it's beyond us. Like this one was beyond us. We did everything we could to have someone from there, and we failed to get one. But if there's anyone from that ministry that wants to speak for the ministry or wants to share information, let us know. We can still give you time to speak and make the ministry's case on this particular issue. Now, let us turn to Alan. Alan, how much have you followed this issue? And from the perspective of data privacy, what are some of the main issues that come into play with a project like this?
Thank you very much. If you could allow me just take our listeners back into what privacy means. Many times when we talk about tracking of number plates or digital number plates, people don't pretty much get to understand what does this mean and what implications will this have on our normal lives as individuals. For starters, the right to privacy affects several other rights. The right to privacy is your personal space. You want to determine where you go, who you interact with, and actually who you go with, who comes into that personal space. You have the right, and that right is actually enshrined in our constitution. So when that right is infringed or is denied, then all the other rights are actually affected. All the other rights are affected. You can't enjoy any other. The right to privacy is linked to various other fundamental rights and liberties, serving as a cornerstone for for their protection and realization. The right of freedom of expression. If you have no right to privacy, you can't express yourself freely. If you have no right to privacy, you can't assemble, you can't associate. And in this regard, where we have trackers into our number plates, you can easily be tracked where you go, who you go with, how you move. So you literally have some form of big brother watching you. And our concern here is, yes, we appreciate government has the obligation, has the mandate to curb crime and to keep security of its citizens. But to what extent do you do it? Do you do it to the extent of infringing on all the other rights? And that even is collecting information that you don't really, you might not even need. But also, when you look at the person actually collecting that information, this government has been in the past five years invested in huge, they have invested huge sums of money, public resources into surveillance tools. They have hired firms to the scale of cracking down political opponents and human rights defenders. I think they started with the CCTV cameras. The CCTV cameras, and for some reason they only work when the state is interested. Where other people are interested, these CCTV cameras don't work. These are over 3,000 cameras installed in Kampala. You get it? Showing you that they actually put there to serve a particular purpose that is not entirely curbing crime. So when you put these beacons, actually, Buni was mentioning of how this works. This system that Russia, if I can add on what Buni earlier already explained, this system has something called beacons. They're embedded into the number plates. So these beacons are defined as small wireless transmitters that use low energy, Bluetooth technology to send signals to other smart devices nearby. So the beacons are one of the latest developments in location technology and proximity marketing. So if you simply put it, they connect and transmit information to smart devices, making location-based such as easy and accurate. These beacons contain central processing units. One of them is a radio and batteries. It works by repeatedly broadcasting out an identifier. So this identifier is actually picked up by a device. That device can actually even be a phone and makes out an important place of a target's environment. So the identifier is also a unique ID number that is usually recognized by another device, and it's as unique. It is only unique to a beacon. So beacons are touted as improved proximity technologies that GPS that are actually even better than GPS and Wi-Fi. They come with greater accuracy. So this is the kind of technology, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be put into your number plates. And once that is done, we should forget about our privacy. We should forget about any other right. You can't move. You will be surveilled at all costs. Suddenly, this kind of technology and of actually implementing it, not even mentioning the way they procured. Agatha just mentioned earlier, they handpicked a company. This kind of practice and technology thereof has several issues, addresses several issues. Okay, suddenly surveillance, unjustifiable searches, that are going to be done to anyone, by state. If they've been able to do it without this information, they've been doing it to civil society organizations, they've been doing it to, political, opponents. Now with this kind of information in their hands, these unjustifiable searches and surveillance are going to be, the thing of the day. So, and the challenge is, we don't even have a strong legal framework. Yes, certainly we have the Data Protection and Privacy Act. This Data Protection and Privacy Act and the office thereof, we have an office that is still under NITA. It's a step in the right direction. But the law and its regulations have some ambiguities. It's not so clear. It has glaring gaps that many of these state operatives actually go through to manipulate people's data. They collect all this data and use it the way they want it to use it, and hide under the clause of national security, and them doing their lawful duty. So what amounts to national security is not defined. So they hide behind that, and with that kind of law, with that kind of gap of lacuna in the law, we are facing very, very serious problems. But also, put that aside, the law in its weak state, again, it mandates anyone to actually, conduct an impact assessment for the data you're going to collect. when implementing this project, when starting it, nothing of that sort was done. An impact assessment helps to understand what could be the risks involved in collecting such data, because much of the data they are going to collect is going to be sensitive data. Sensitive data. That's much of the data they're going to collect. That data was collected and used in a very wrong way. And we have no doubt that they have potential to use it the wrong way. Because on several occasions, they've been able to, to go after people, those you even consider innocent. They would put them in prison for years that are not being prosecuted fairly in proper courts of law. So if they have much of this information, what more can they actually do with it? If they can arrest someone who is actually innocent, who has nothing to do with whatever was arrested. Several people who have been arrested before. We've had instances where people give testimony. Look here, I was just a chapati vendor. I was just a border rider, and they robbed me. Here I am, 4 years down the road, I'm in prison, and no justice and fairness has been apportioned to me. So what if they have this information on you and much of this? So we are going to constantly start living in an environment where people are fearful to even move. People are going to be fearful to even innovate. People are going to be fearful to even speak anything sensible, because now you don't know what amounts to breaching national security, whatever you're going to say. So you find yourselves in a situation where you have a country that is so fearful in everything they do, and consequently, it will affect the economic fiber of the entire country. Because not only, speaking against government might put you in problems, but probably even having a business idea that offends anyone in government might put you in problems. You see how that affects, the social fiber. And you see, the challenge with what we have here is that collection of personal data is usually understood as valuable to the state rather than as sources of, ultra hazard risks. So privacy violations are treated as a disconnected problem or a normal, state practice of collecting whatever you have, because your state will collect, you have the power, you have the law, the vague law, collect, and rather than, treating it as an endemic societal challenge. We have a challenge, privacy is not respected, and once it's not respected, we have issues of other rights that are going to be affected, and we have issues of a country that is going to deteriorate in its democratic practices, it's going to deteriorate in its innovation tendencies and economic activities, and so other things, and so other many things that are affected by privacy. So you see, it starts with just a tracking of a number plate. Then it has a ripple effect on so many other things. You can't move, you can't, because they will know if Separa is going to meet Agatha, they will know. Agatha in 2 harm's way. They just have to track her vehicle. Usually there are those common points where, sorry Agatha, I'm using your name. But
no problem.
Yeah, but they just did those common points. And recently we did, as I'm going to witness, we did a report on, I will mention it here, Safe Border. Safe Border, the app, the transport app, collects several of the clients' information. Of course, they collect it to give them services. How else will they deliver to you a package if they don't collect your own GPS data? So they collect your name, your phone number, your own GPS data. So our argument with Safe Border, and when we were discussing it with the regulator, the Personal Data Protection Office, was anyone who has the backdrop of the information, if they are not trained and they are weak enough, they can be manipulated to give people Agatha's information. They only need to know what are the common points that Agatha does what always is. If she's at a common point at 9 p.m., probably that is her home. It is at a common point at 9 a.m. in the morning. That is where she works. So it's very easy to handpick. And in an era where people are just murdered, just like that, as they're approaching their days, we even risk to know who actually has the back door to the information these people are going to collect. How safe is that information? We are not even privy to the contract, the memorandum of understanding between the state and the implementers. There is lack of transparency regarding the procurement and the implementation of the entire procedure. Who is going to keep safe of that information? How safe am I? I might be a normal headmaster of a primary school, but if someone is interested in me, they can easily go to police or whoever collects the data, bribe them with probably 500,000. The other time, a doctor was killed at a cost of 600,000 a day. So imagine 1 million and a deposit of 600,000. Just 1 million and your life is gone. Just like that. Because we don't know who has backdoor. And we have proof and evidence of information leaking from government to private and other, other funny actors. The other time, NIRA, we had an issue with them. How do telecom companies get information we give you for our national IDs? Did you seek consent from us? Because if you collect information from me to secure me, for instance, you get my number plate and collect my movements and all that information that comes with it. If you collect it to secure me, then don't use it for something else. And if you are going to use it for that something, be open enough to let me know what else you're going to use that information, who else is going to access that information. You get it? So we have politicians who, through back doors, get NIRA information and call us for votes. Hello? you get my point. So there is a lot of lack of transparency in how this program was initiated. There is no fairness and no fullness in collecting the data. The principle of proportionality is not respected at all. Everything is collected. Do you actually need all the information that you collect from that tracker? And the other time, we got information that actually the information won't be kept in Uganda. What does the law say? What does the Data Protection and Privacy Act actually say about transfer of this information outside Uganda in jurisdictions that actually don't even have data protection laws? So, ladies and gentlemen, we are in really very dangerous situations right now. If this project is implemented the way it is right now, we are not so really against government securing us and cutting down crime, but do it in a way that respects the humanity, the dignity of your citizens. And you might be fighting security, but again bringing security to us, because there is information that funny actors are using government information to go after, other people. You heard how Sobi and all those elements were actually accessing information from ISO. They knew who stays where, who does what, so they could easily go and do harm to them. And then they would go away with them. Then government could really, raise their hands, they don't know those people and all that. So we have no structures. We have things that should be done before this project should be implemented. We really recommend and highly recommend that an impact assessment be done. We should have access to the MOU that was signed between the implementer and government. We need to know who else has access to that information beyond police and Ministry of Internal Affairs. Because already we have enough surveilling laws and efforts that government has put aside to surveil people. We have the Interception of Communications Act that give government leeway to actually intercept our calls without even seeking any court order. So we need the contracts, all parts of the contract between government and MS Joint Stock Company Global. We need information about the system, such as the design, management, implementation of the information system. We strongly need a data protection impact assessment, okay, that is carried out as actually recommended by the regulations. That's like I think Regulation 12 of the Data Protection and Privacy Regulations, it recommends that whoever collects that information, be it government or private entity, you ought to, carry out a data protection impact assessment. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alan. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, we
great.
can.
So Alan has all these many issues about privacy, the privacy threat that comes with this that will come with this project. But as it turns out, we shouldn't worry about that because the project clearly has failed to take off. And Buni, I wanted to get back to you on that. One is the capacity issues that we had discussed the last time, for the benefit of those that did not attend our space 3 months ago, maybe also refreshing the minds of the rest. Could you also go through why, from the start, as many have been skeptical about this, about the feasibility of this project? But also, if you can tell us if we should celebrate that the yet another deadline has not been met, and then we get back to Sempala after that to talk about what we should worry about, or if we should worry at all.
Okay. Thank you very much, Agatha. First and foremost, whoever made the choice of having this space today, the 1st of February, was brilliant in timing. Brilliant in timing because the last time when government launched this process, government promised that they would roll out with effect from the 1st of February 2024. If my memory serves me right, that was, I think, the 4th postponement of the rollout of this product. And today is 1st of February and still nothing has happened. And before I go into the details of why nothing has happened, I earlier on gave an example and said the only country that has something similar to what is planned here is Bangladesh. Between 2012 and 2018, Bangladesh had only installed 12 antennas, the RFID antennas in their city. Only 12. Now, when you go into explaining how this technology works, and I like the fact that Alan went a little bit technical into the details. An RFID is just a transmitter of information. It requires an antenna to be able to receive this information, and then the information from the antenna will be aggregated either by another technology that is corresponding or any other means to get it into a computer system where the information can be processed finally. I'll use processing since it summarizes every other thing that is in there. So for the sake of Uganda, as I said last time, the RFIDs that we have, I'm sure most of you have gone to supermarkets, you've bought some clothes or you've bought some alcoholic drinks in supermarkets. They always have a small plastic tag on them. And every time you walk with that tag through the door without paying, it always sets off an alarm. And usually when you pay at the station, that particular tag is removed and then you can move out with whatever you've bought. So that's the same technology that is being implemented here in Uganda, and it's just an RFID tag. The difference would be possibly in terms of the distance within which that particular tag can be read and recognized by the antenna that is serving. So whereas in the supermarket, the maximum distance that you get in the supermarket is supermarket is a very short distance. It's about 3 meters distance. Yeah, about 3 meters from the checkpoint at the door, the alarm will go off. For number plates, the distance would be from the outdoor antennas. The maximum distance that we have permissible is slightly above 500 meters. If you go military grade, you could go into close to maybe 900 meters. 900 meters to 1 kilometer maximum. Now, that's the maximum technologically achievable distance for reading a radio frequency identification tag, which is the RFID tag that is being put on your number plates. The challenge we are having with this particular project is that government has been lip tight on the specifics of the technology they are using. They have been lip tight on any of the standards that they are using. So we do not know what standards are being used for the technology that they are deploying. And then it becomes difficult for us to gauge. The only information I have, which I got today from one of my sources, told me that at launch, they used only 100 number plates. When they launched this in November last year, they only had 100 number plates that were used for testing purposes. Now, those 100 number plates, I can speak with authority, were not made here in this country. Not even the chips were made here in this country. The number plate in itself is just an aluminium blank that is hard pressed. It's a press mechanism with coloring to get you the aluminium blank that you have as your number plate, and then they attach an RFID tag on it. So that tag without the antennas is useless. So we don't have any information right now on how many possible antennas have they deployed and installed in this country. Now, the antennas require electricity for them to work. If we are struggling, and which comes to the capacity issue, if we are struggling with the basics of setting up adequate street lights, are we sure that we can ably guarantee electricity to these antennas best case scenario, every 1 kilometer? We have the Entebbe Expressway. How long did it take for us to have street lights on the Entebbe Expressway from the time it was completed? Now, with these 100 number plates that we are having, first and foremost, we don't have any record. There have been no report that has come through to say that, okay, these 100 have been tested and this is how so far they are working. And then there's a fallacy that we are having right now. In the statement that came through from, I forget her name. Let me see if I can pick up on her name. Who happens to be the spokesperson from the Ministry of Works? A lady,
Susan Kataike?
Susan. Yes, Susan Kataike. Yes, that's her name. When Susan said that, we are rolling out something that has guarantees real-time tracking. No, please do not speak about technological things that you don't understand. RFID in a span of in a geospan of 5 kilometers, 20 square kilometers or so cannot be real time, because it's only reporting you information when a reader sees it. When the reader sees it, when you go to an ATM machine, just because you have an ATM card in your wallet does not mean that every ATM machine around you knows where you are. The only time the banks can know where you went is when you insert the ATM the ATM card into the ATM. Other than that, no one knows where you are. So you cannot call this technology real-time tracking, when in effect it's basically a handshake. It's a handshake to say, oh, I am here. It's a handshake for your number plate, the RFID number plate, for example, to pass a reader on a let's say Lugogo bypass and say, oh, I'm here, I've passed Lugogo bypass. If there's another one at Kira Road, it will say, oh, Buni has passed Kira Road. So if there is no other reader at Kira Road, then there'll be no information reported about Buni passing there. The last information will be where last he passed. And why does this not make sense to us? If we go back to our crime reports that have been passed over the last 3 years, if we look at the crime reports that have been passed in this country, what are the key crimes of this country? What are the key crimes that this country faces year in, year out? If you go on, you will find, for clarity, the key crimes that we have in this country: number one, theft. The second one that we have is assault. The third one that we have is domestic violence. The fourth one that we have are the sex-related offenses, which is rape and defilement. Okay? Now, if our purpose for deploying these digital number plates, as has been stated by the minister recently when we're having the data protection conference, I think, which was the 9th of January, when he said the sole purpose for the digital number plates is security, because the country has faced a security challenge of criminals making use of cars and motorcycles that are difficult to trace. I want to ask us, from the top 5 crimes that are committed in this country over the last 5 years, how many or what percentage of them are related to cars? Do we have any relation between, let us say, theft, Most of the thefts are break-ins on foot. Do we have any relation to, say, assault, personal assault, people fighting each other here and there? What about domestic violence? Is it that people commit crimes such as rape and defilement using cars and motorcycles? What informed our decision to choose digital number plates as a priority for a country that cannot get things as simple as basic community policing, street lighting, basic healthcare in health facilities here and there, or schools and buildings around the country? Right. So until we ask ourselves those questions, then that's where we start. If we can't answer those, then it automatically answers our question on, do we have the capacity as a country? Why are we trying to do what is not within the needs of this country right now? Right now, you can give an example and talk about our roads in the city, the rehabilitation works that are going on, the number of kilometers of tarmac that this country has. Is it worth for us to be able to put our resources and time into this project? Then there is the point of people saying, oh, you see, the company we are dealing with is carrying on all the investment and they're recovering it in the next 10 years. So government is not investing anything, which is a lie. Their facilities, for which are supposed to be the manufacturing facilities, are supposed to be housed at government facilities. That's a government cost. Ordinarily, it would be considered as rent that you would offset as to say, this is my contribution in monetary terms into a joint venture if we were running a joint venture. But it's not a JV. We don't even have details of the actual contracts between this company, alleged fraudulent company, Joint Stock, which they say is a Russian company, is not even a Russian company. It's last registered, I think, in Belarus, not in Russia, and we are here being duped as a whole country. Even the parliament committee that was supposed to go over and find where this company is headquartered and where they have their offices went and bounced. They did not find anything. The last time parliament decided to move around this country, try and see some of the facilities or equipment that had been set up by this company, there was nothing to show other than a tarpaulin, I could call it a canvas tent, branded the name of the company. Other than that, we have nothing from them. So why are we wasting our energy when we actually, one, do not need this, two, don't have the capacity or the money to waste putting into such a venture? When the spokesperson from Ministry of Works was talking about this particular project, she went ahead to say, oh, you see, we're going to add over the next 10 years, we're going to add more capacity to this system. For example, number plate identification system. And I wanted to ask myself, how does she become a spokesperson of the Ministry of Works if she does not even know that we currently have number plate recognition system inbuilt in the police camera systems? You're talking in future tense of something that we currently already have in the police CCTV camera systems. You're talking about facial recognition. The things you talk about are software things that can be added onto the existing police camera system. If we already have the police camera systems being put out everywhere, then all we need to do is, one, ensure that the number plate recognition system is working. Two, we can incorporate and see to it that it has facial recognition, which is software, using the same hardware that is currently being deployed. So this is another challenge that we always have for Uganda in implementing technologically driven innovations or policies for the government, is that you have the most incompetent people to be the front face of these particular projects when they have absolutely no knowledge whatsoever on how these systems are supposed to work. If you're having the RFIDs communicating to these base stations, how does that information get transmitted now to the computer systems, to the police command center, either in Agora or in Natete? You definitely need something that can translate whatever signal they are pushing out into an internet signal now that you can transmit via web, and most times that will be either most likely via GSM. So you not need to have a SIM card or microwave dishes that are then communicating long range to the data centers. Have we thought through this? Who's the provider of this technology? At what cost? Who's bearing this cost on behalf of the government? Are we able to fund this? Are we able to ensure reliability in terms of provision of this particular in terms of provision of this transmission of data back and forth. So those are the key challenges that we have with this deployment. And given that today is the 1st of Feb and they promised us 1st of Feb, one of the reasons why no one from the ministry should be here speaking with us is because they absolutely have no knowledge of what's going on. That's the truth. It's like it's being run by a few mafias when they know what's going on, and because they have not yet even come in fully, we're going to have another postponement. If today is fast and nothing has been launched today, I guarantee you, in the next possibly 2-3 weeks, there will be an apology saying, sorry, we are waiting for A, B, C, D, so let's have another postponement. Maybe equipment is not yet into the country, but let's wait and see. For now, that is all I can say.
Thank you.
Okay, I see. Agatha is back.
back,
Okay.
Yes. Sorry about the connection. It's crappy. I don't know how those RFIDs will work in places like Shema, where I come from. But thank you, Bunny. So I was talking about this capacity, and I think Sempala, the lawyer, would be in position to answer that. Considering all these concerns we have about this company, they came from money, the money that people are required to pay, because everyone wonders how you expect a border rider that gets a loan, a border on a loan, to pay almost 1 million shillings for a registration and a number plate, but also go to the privacy issues that you talked about, data and security. Should we be happy that the company is failing to implement this project? Are there implications that we are likely to face if that this failure persists as it has over the last 1 year? Sempala.
No, Agatha, I think we shouldn't even be celebrating that they haven't started. The NRM government that at least have studied for over some time, once they want something, they will do it. And if it serves their benefit, they will still do it. So we honestly have to put in place mechanisms and put enough, pressure on them to do the right thing. Because what they are trying to do, others have tried to do it, but have tried to do it in a way that is cautious of the rights of their citizens. UAE has tried to do it, but they only limit it to parking and emergency calls and all that, and where you have violations of traffic. USA, some states like California and Arizona, they try to do it, but again, what we're trying to say is that those who have tried to do it have tried to do it in a manner that respects the rights of their citizens. So if this serves the purpose they think it will serve, especially surveilling, I want to be very categorical on that. I doubt their purpose is curbing crime, because we've seen a different narrative on the CCTV cameras. We've certainly seen the intention wasn't curbing crime. As when crime is committed, that's when the cameras are almost off, and for some reason they help them to do what they want to do as and when they want to do it. So we should be not celebrating, but rather let's put more pressure. And I think this express has been organized in right timing. Let's have more. Let's push to have them come and answer these questions. We should not tire. I know, like your colleague mentioned, they tried to reach out to them and they didn't. Please try to reach them out again and again. We need answers from them. We need to mount pressure on them so that they can be able to implement the program, but implement it in a way that is lawful, that is fair, but most importantly, that in a manner that is transparent. They will not get tired of bringing it back until they want it. We've seen it. If they want to change a law, if they want to do something, they will always do it and justify later on. So I think what so far we are experiencing right now is probably they have issues that are still failing them, but they're determined that they will do it because they are convinced it is going to help them, in a way, fight those that are opposing them. They are convinced. They will always try anything else that they believe or they've been convinced it can help them have control of citizens. But most importantly, we want to push them to let us enjoy Uganda when we are not fearful that the details of our lives are not being amassed and exploited. That we can go to bed and not get worried that you wake up with a stranger on your bed. How they got to know your home, how they located you, you don't know. But it's very possible with all this information out there. So we will only trust this system. We will only trust them if they are transparent with one, the procurement and the details in the contracts that they are having with these people, the procurement of the companies and the details of the contracts they are having with these people. But I think it's also the right time. The Data Protection Act was enacted in 2019 and its regulations were brought on in 2021. Now I think coming to 5 years, 4 years down the road, I think it's right time. It's now right for us to talk about amendments. The law was brought in and it had very loopholes, and we gave it under a benefit of doubt. We gave it an opportunity to be implemented. An office was subsequently, put in place. The office lacks enough capacity to actually regulate, and many times these initiatives are implemented without even consulting the office that regulates personal data in Uganda. So I think, Agatha, we shouldn't celebrate that the lion is sleeping. We should put enough burglary. We should put enough safety, enough pressure so that when the lion eventually wakes up, we will be safe. It will be in the cage. It won't be able to cause any harm to those that are living in Uganda. Yeah.
I don't know how you suggest we do that, though. We have seen the issues that have been raised by many other government agencies. The Committee of Parliament, both the minority, there were two committees that scrutinized this, Committee on Infrastructure and Defense and some MPs went to Russia and did not find any plant. They realized that this company has nothing on the ground, and they were told that the plant is instead in. But technology issues. There's a report from ISO, under which the ministry that is supposed to be implementing this, where it lies. There's a report from also the Minister of Internal Affairs. And all these reports were pointing out these issues. One, the capacity of this company to do this kind of work, and also hearing what Bonnie was saying. Two, the data security and sovereignty issues. The ISO report, a letter to the president, talks about that very strongly. If even with all that, government is still hell-bent on a company that has even failed to show any pre-shipment material, how else can we fight this except to be happy that actually this this company cannot pull this off? Is there anything else we can do at this moment?
Agatha, I think what we can do, for starters, this is one of the things we're doing. Organizing this express is one of those measures that can be done. Let's consistently do it. This will mount pressure on them. Let's keep the conversations going. But I think also it's for those who are lawyers and interested in public interest litigation, we might, before even going into challenging them in court, challenging the system in court, because so far it's not yet challenged. there is the Access to Information Act. I know several people have gone through the Access to Information Act and they've, denied them access to this information. But we need to, first of all, go through, because again, when you go to court, you must have exploited all the other means to have them change, and nothing has been done. The Access to Information Act gives us, the powers and the ability to actually ask for contracts or parts of the contracts between the government and an MS stock company global to see what exactly in there, and then we bring it to public debate and probably through public debate and a lot of advocacy and pressure mounted on them, much of these clauses in this contract might be changed to better. Then, of course, we need to access the information about the system, and this information will be in the contract. And once you go through the Access to Information Act, you will be able to do that. This can be done through mounted advocacy on them not getting tired. I mean, such strong-willed governments like the one of Uganda did a lot of that. But I guess it will help us to in a way push for that. But again, if all that fails, we can still go to court and ask courts to deliberately make such declarations like data protection and the data protection and the impact assessments that should be done and carried out as required by the law, because many of these are required by the law and they've not done them. You get it? Of course, hiding behind the ambiguous clause of national security. But I'm sure they can't be. All is not lost, Agatha. Yes, let's celebrate that at least now we have a breather, but let's not put down the guards, because trust me, they will come back in full swing, and the law and the company will be here and it will be collecting massive data. I think let's keep having these discussions. Those who can write policy papers, engage with many of these state operatives and MDAs, probably that would have us go forward. And if all that has failed, then lastly, we'll have no option but to go to court and ask court to make declarations such as having a proper impact assessment, but also bringing to the contractor and knowing how exactly this system is managed. Yeah, when was it? Yesterday or 2 days ago? Yesterday or the other day, we saw these. Of course, this is USA. Big tech companies being, questioned and tasked to explain why they are not doing much to protect, children on their platforms. But I think you see that was achieved because a lot of people did a lot of advocacy and pressure amounted to the powers that be, and they had no option but to summon these people. And at least questions were asked and answers were given, with actually some of them apologizing, like Mark Zuckerberg. So I think, Agatha, again, yes, we can celebrate, but we shouldn't put our guards down, because they are interested in this and they are convinced that this is one of the techniques or the tool that will hold them into power without giving gap or space to their opponents to come through. So they will have control over citizens, they will know who is moving, where they will keep us in fear of even moving, and that will make it very easy for them to govern.
Thank you, Alan. I understand there's a case. I haven't followed up to know how far it has gone. Godwin might know. Was that case filed by Musisi and Semakade Godwin?
It's partly Semakade, Legal Brain Trust. And last time we had the lawyer here, Okecho.
Oh, yes, Okecho. Yes.
I think it's from Gema. But I think the thing about the case is that it has never been fixed for hearing, I think, up to now. So there's a stalemate in that.
That's what I was trying to tell Alan, that many options have been looked at, but like he said that when the NRM government wants something, so we probably might need to think more about other ways than the institutions that they have a grip on to be the saviors in this issue, which like you said, I hope a space like this can brainstorm on on how we can deal with that. Bunny, so going back to the issues of capacity of the company, do you have any information about why this particular company in particular, and why they're insisting on it after all that has been said about its lack of capacity to implement a project like this? Because,
Thank you,
for
Agatha.
example, Bonnie, there have been these stories, like I've told you, that MPs went to Russia and didn't find anything, were housed in a hotel, they were never showed any plant, and they were later told it is in Poland and they can't access Poland because of the Russian-Ukrainian war. But also there's an issue that the owners of this company, I think those that people are laughing at who looked like mafias at the launch, are facing sanctions and cannot finance it. Yet the agreement says they will put down the investment and recoup it. Is there any particular reason on the insistence of this Russian company that I've seen some stories say is connected to some military farm? Is there what you've heard in that regard?
Okay, thank you very much. First and foremost, the company that is doing the digital number plates in Uganda is not the joint stock security company that is registered in Russia. I have said this 1,000 times. That's why when our MPs went into Russia, they found nothing and they are being referred to instead go to Poland. There is no
I was told that technology issues. There's a report from ISO, under which the ministry that is supposed to be implementing this, where it lies. A report from also the Minister of Internal Affairs. And all these reports were pointing out these issues. One, the capacity of this company to do this kind of work, and also hearing what Bonnie was saying. Two, the data security and sovereignty issues. The ISO report, a letter to the president, talks about that very strongly. If even with all that, government is still hell-bent on a company that has even failed to show any pre-shipment material, how else can we fight this except to be happy that actually this this company cannot pull this off? Is there anything else we can do at this moment?
Agatha, I think what we can do, for starters, this is one of the things we're doing. Organizing this express is one of those measures that can be done. Let's consistently do them. This will mount pressure on them. Let's keep the conversations going. But I think also it's for those who are lawyers and interested in public interest litigation, we might before even going into challenging them in court, challenging the system in court, because so far it's not yet challenged. There is the Access to Information Act. I know several people have gone through the Access to Information Act and they've, denied them access to that information. But we need to, first of all, go through, because then when you go to court, you must have exploited all the other means to have them change, and nothing has been done. The Access to Information Act gives us, the powers and the ability to actually ask for contracts or parts of the contracts between the government and MST stock company Global to see what exactly in there, and then we bring it to public debate and probably through public debate and a lot of advocacy and pressure mounted on them, much of these clauses in this contract might be changed to better. Then, of course, we need to access the information about the system, and this information will be in the contract. And once you go through the Access to Information Act, you will be able to do that. This can be done through mounted advocacy on them not getting tired. I mean, such strong-willed governments like the one of Uganda needs a lot of that. But I guess it will help us to in a way push for that. But again, if all that fails, we can still go to court and ask courts to deliberately make such declarations like data protection and the data protection and the impact assessments that should be done and carried out as required by the law, because many of these are required by the law and they've not done them. You get it? Of course, hiding behind the ambiguous clause of national security. But I'm sure they can't be. All is not lost, Agatha. Yes, let's celebrate that at least now we have a breather, but let's not put down the guards, because trust me, they will come back in full swing, and the law and the company will be here and it will be collecting massive data. I think let's keep having these discussions. Those who can write policy papers, engage with many of these state operatives and MDAs, probably that could have us go forward. And if all that has failed, then lastly, we'll have no option but to go to court and ask court to make declarations such as having a proper impact assessment, but also bringing to fore to the contractor and knowing how exactly this system is managed. Yeah, when was it? Yesterday or 2 days ago? Yesterday or the other day, we saw these. Of course, this is USA. Big tech companies being, questioned and tasked to explain why they are not doing much to protect, children on their platforms. But I think you see that was achieved because a lot of people did a lot of advocacy and pressure amounted to the powers that be, and they had no option but to summon these people. And at least questions were asked and answers were given, with actually some of them apologizing, like Mark Zuckerberg. So I think, Agatha, again, yes, we can celebrate, but we shouldn't put our guards down because they are interested in this and they are convinced that this is one of the techniques or the tool that will hold them into power without giving them or space to their opponents to come through. So they will have control over citizens, they will know who is moving, where they will keep us in fear of even moving, and that will make it very easy for them to govern.
Thank you, Alan. I understand there's a case. I haven't followed up to know how far it has gone. Godwin might know. Was that case filed by Musisi and Semakade Godwin?
It's partly Semakade, Legal Brain Trust. And last time we had the lawyer here, Okecho.
Oh, yes, Okecho. Yes.
I think it's from Gema. But I think the thing about the case is that it has never been fixed for hearing, I think, up to now. So there's a stalemate in that regard.
That's what I was trying to tell Alan, that many options have been looked at, but like he said that when the NRM government wants something, so we probably might need to think more about other ways than the institutions that they have a grip on to be the saviors in this issue. Which like you said, I hope a space like this can brainstorm on on how we can deal with that. Bunde, so going back to the issues of capacity of the company, do you have any information about why this particular company in particular, and why they're insisting on it after all that has been said about its lack of capacity to implement a project like this? Because,
thank you, Agatha.
For example, let me. There have been these stories, like I've told you, that MPs went to Russia and didn't find anything. Were housed in a hotel. They were never showed any plant, and they were later told it is in Poland and they can't access Poland because of the Russian-Ukrainian war. But also, there's an issue that the owners of this company, I think those that people are laughing at, who looked like mafias at the launch, are facing sanctions and cannot finance it. Yet the agreement says they will put down the investment and recoup it. Is there any particular reason on the insistence of this Russian company that I've seen some stories say is connected to some military farm? Is there what you've heard in that regard?
Okay, thank you very much. First and foremost, the company that is doing the digital number plates in Uganda is not the joint stock security company that is registered in Russia. I have said this 1,000 times. That's why when our MPs went into Russia, they found nothing and they are being referred to instead go to Poland. There is no
That's what I was trying to tell Alan, that many options have been looked at, but like he said that when the NRM government wants something, so we probably might need to think more about other ways than the institutions that they have a grip on to be the saviors in this issue. Which like you said, I hope a space like this can brainstorm on on how we can deal with that. Bunny, so going back to the issues of capacity of the company, do you have any information about why this particular company in particular, and why they're insisting on it after all that has been said about its lack of capacity to implement a project like this? Because,
thank you,
for
Agatha.
example, let me, there have been these stories, like I've told you, that MPs went to Russia and didn't find anything, were housed in a hotel, they were never showed any plant, and they were later told it is in Poland and they can't access Poland because of the Russian-Ukrainian war. But also there's an issue that the owners of this company, I think those that people are laughing at who looked like mafias at the launch, are facing sanctions and cannot finance it. Yet the agreement says they will put down the investment and recoup it. Is there any particular reason on the insistence of this Russian company that I've seen some stories say is connected to some military farm? Is there what you've heard in that regard?
Okay, thank you very much. First and foremost, the company that is doing the digital number plates in Uganda is not the joint stock security company that is registered in Russia. I have said this 1,000 times. That's why when our MPs went into Russia, they found nothing and they are being referred to instead go to Poland. There is no
I actually thought it was me again who had dropped, since I am the one who is having major network connection issues today. So if you can, Bunny?
He has dropped. Let me work with him to get back. I see as a Buni, can you unmute and try to talk?
I say he's back on. Bunny is as joint stock.
Hello, am I audible now? Can you hear me?
Last time, I think we hosted him and he had some information about that company. Buni, are you back?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, you can. Agatha, can you hear Buni? He's trying to speak.
Am I audible enough? Can I proceed?
Agatha,
Buni,
Buni is back. I don't know if
I
Agatha can
think
hear
you
you.
can just start. I can hear him.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you. So I was saying we have a distinction between the two companies. The company that we are having here is just riding on the name of a greater, bigger company, which is the Russian, military, I could say complex company that does military supplies. This company here, the only information that we have from it online that I have seen is in regards to supply of non-military use belts and straps. Okay, they're just riding on the other name. So I don't know why we keep saying Russian, even when our own MPs went over to Russia and they were told, sorry, there is no such company like that exists here. And that's why they ended up being referred to Poland. But even if they were referred to Poland, I'm not speaking as saying that I have information on this, but the information I have on the registration of that company was pointing to Belarus, not even Poland. So I'm wondering what they would be doing in Poland. Okay, that's why our MPs bounced in Russia. There was nothing to show. So concerning this company, my view is that this company is possibly being used as a front by someone else to gain access, a certain level of state control in Uganda, an imperial form of colonization or penetration into Uganda, because all this information, data from all the motorcycles and cars that you have in the country, if you fully implemented this system, imagine this data being available to a foreign country and what they could potentially do with this data. And as we discussed last time, this is where everyone should be focusing their mind. Everyone should be focusing their energy there. Where is this data being hosted? Who is in control of the hosting? Are we having local data servers in this country? Are we having foreign data servers? If the servers are foreign, how do we protect and guarantee that this information cannot leak into control of another person? If these servers are local, same thing. How do we guarantee protection of this data? Remember, they say that these number plates are going to be connected to all vehicles and motorcycles in this country. So are we sure that we are willing to give movement information of our president to be kept possibly on a data server that is in control of another organization, another person? Because some of the institutions that they say they're going to have these number plates are Office of the President, all the ministries, Uganda Police. Imagine if someone at an instance had information on where last you passed or where you pass, and they have built up a certain model. Now we have prediction models under data modeling. You can model and say, Agatha passes here twice every week. Agatha passes this route once a month. So based on the information that we have collected over the next 5 years, I can predict that Agatha is going to pass here at this and this time. Is this information that we want to put out to a foreign country through a foreign company? What was so hard about Uganda Police being the ones doing these particular digital number plates themselves? Uganda currently stands at about, from the information that I'd gathered, about 2.4 million cars, about 1.4 million motorcycles. All these moving around this company, this country. All this information in the hands of someone foreign, is this good for our economy? And what breaks my heart as a Ugandan, as a patriotic citizen, is listening to a speech from the Fountain of Honor, and he says, let no one delay my digital number plates project. The statement my from English to say my digital number plates project, speaking about a national project, that statement broke me because it raises questions on in whose interest.
But isn't that how he speaks about everything?
So if that is how the president is speaking about this, do you think we are going to get any redress from the courts of law by running to court? When the president has said no one should delay my digital number plates. And this was recently when he was passing out policemen at Kabaria. He said, let no one delay my digital number plates project. Is the president going to allow his personal car, the number one car, to have a digital number plate with an RFID chip such that people can know where he has passed at all times? What happens on the national order of precedence then for all the for all the officials, Speaker of Parliament, Deputy Speaker, Chief Justice, Deputy Chief Justice, Prime Minister, Vice President? Are they going to be comfortable having these chips on all their cars for all the movements that they make? What happens? We have had instances of Ugandan banks being hit by hackers within this country. If banking systems as robust as they can be, that have a financial gain and an economic effect on a country, can be hit internally from fellow Ugandans, what happens if this system that is tracking all these cars is hit by someone and people have access to it and they just keep quiet and they're just using it to track movements of our president? Would our president's safety be guaranteed in that case? And what about all the other officials? Now, when it comes to the second thing that I know you have raised, and I know you are going to bring it up, which was concerning the cost, as we get done with this, which was concerning the cost. At a total cost of 714,000, I keep hearing some people reporting it as 735,000 for a new number plate, and then the existing ones to renew at 150,000 and 50,000 for motorcycles. I ask myself, where does this price come from? There is nothing about a pressed aluminium block that forms the number plate, neither the RFID chip that is attached on it, that equals to a total cost of 700,000 shillings. Let me give an example. When Bangladesh did its implementation in 2012, that is still running and they're reviewing, Bangladesh was charging 4,628 Bangladesh taka per number plate. When you translate that figure and convert the Bangladeshi taka to Ugandan currency, it comes to a total cost of 160,000 Ugandan shillings. So where did we get the 700 plus thousand shillings from? Why do we want to rob the ordinary Ugandan who's struggling with life to make ends meet with such a burden of a cost that in effect is unnecessary? Those are the few questions from my side, both technologically and in terms of the financial outlook, what it is for the country and for the wananchi. Thank you.
And also I can't mute. I can't unmute. Can you hear me guys now?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. I don't know who was muting my microphone every time I unmuted. I'm saying that, yeah, the issue of cost is also a big issue, because it's affordable for many people, considering the other conditions that they go through. The MPs also raised the issue of the financing model, how the company intends to get back its investment. So it's the problem is not just that we are being asked to pay money that we don't know what it will do exactly. Last time you were here, you told us how much a chip like that would cost. But also that people are going to be penalized based on nothing, no law at all, without amending the existing law of road traffic and road safety act. But the financing model has things like fines, things like third-party insurance, contrary to what the law provides for them. And that's also problematic, that if someone expects to get, I saw $154 billion, they will do whatever it takes to find fault and a traffic offense, even where there's none. But yeah, the other big issue was that it might be used to monitor politicians, opposition politicians, maybe journalists, maybe human rights activists, or any other Ugandans the government might have interest in. And I think Alan spoke about that. But I am happy that the president, who was saying let no one delay his project, no one has delayed it but the incompetent company that he himself handpicked, and we don't know how or who is behind that handpicking and the insistence on a company that has clearly failed to deliver, failing to meet about 4 deadlines now. Patrick, can you make Wamba the speaker? I want to open it up to the audience now, whoever wants to comment about this issue, and then we get back to see the way forward. And yeah, we'll start with Daniel Gwambari, and whoever else will request for a microphone to speak. Patrick?
I have sent him an invitation.
Okay. So as we get Daniel to speak, and other people that might want to contribute to the discussion, there's a case that has not even been set for hearing, because if the company had managed to put it off today, we would, and you saw also there's some commission at works who said it will be an offense if the 2 years they will have given you, if there's a motorist that has not yet moved to the digital number plates. I don't know what law he bases on. So seeing as courts are not even are not, these questions we've asked, other government entities have asked them, but the president, as Buni put it, insists he doesn't want anyone to delay his digital number plates project. If you saw a letter that he wrote to the security minister, Jim Wes, I think before he was even sworn in, you would know how nothing we can do to stop this project from coming in with all its threats on Ugandans and these financial concerns we raise.
Am I allowed to speak now?
Alan, can you hear me?
Agatha,
Yes.
have you heard Daniel speak? Agatha. Yes, he actually tried to make his comment. If you can, you can make it now.
Yeah, I don't see him as a speaker on my side here. Let me just, I think I'm having an issue. Let me try to resolve that so that I can hear what he's saying.
Okay. Daniel, carry on meanwhile.
Right. Thank you, Agatha and Godwin and the rest of the crew for this discussion, which I joined quite late. Again, just like we had a conversation earlier with a few other people, when this company was announced, Joint Stock Global Company, on 24th July 2021, I tweeted out whether Joint Stock Company Global Security is the same as Joint Stock Company Goznak, because Joint Stock Company Goznak is that very large, almost multi-billion-dollar Russian conglomerate that prints everything from their money, security things, etc. And so when we went deeper into the conversation on what Joint Stock Company Global Security was, we realized it was a company supplying textiles in some provinces of Russia, and which was being wound up for being bankrupt at some point. So it's just, again, one of the marvels of the difference between a state talking and a state implementing. Because when they are talking about the things, you quickly think, oh, maybe they have an idea. They have something they're going to do that is right. Then, of the worst lot, the bottom of the barrel kind of implementers, those are the ones the Ugandan state will choose, unlawfully or illegally. It comes, and just for, in 1997, when we bought the junk choppers from Belarus, there's actually a company called Joint Stock Company in Belarus. Global Security is Belarusian, actually. And like Buni has said, the origins or the real office for the company chosen for the digital plates is really fluid. Some say Polish, some say Belarusian, others say Russian. There would be no one questioning, there would be no space here if the company actually implementing the digital plates was Joint Stock Company Goznak. That is a true top tier, highly respected security systems implementer, especially in relation to RFID and currency printing, etc. What we have is a sham. It does not qualify to even supply uniforms to a small private school. So we have a problem of what we state being very different from what the people we choose to implement what we state. We also have an issue. I don't know whether it is just being mesmerized by technology. We have an excitement with security technology that is not commensurate with our basic security needs or architecture. I do not think a country whose GDP per capita is below $1,000 needs, yes, the CCTV cameras are necessary and other interventions, but they are way cheaper, more popular, easier to implement ways of securitizing, if you could call it that, the lives of people and property, and making sure that there's enough deterrence through enforcement and sanctioning of whoever is doing wrong in this country, which are easy to implement. The worst bit about it is that we have done these methods under the same state or system of leadership. There was Mayumba Kumi, which was super effective. There's the LOC1 system, which should have been effective, but is now just a stamp selling and signature selling outfit. So there are cheaper ways to get us secure. This, number one, being mesmerized with technology, and number two, being mesmerized especially with the voyeuristic aspect of technology. You want to know what Boni is having for supper, so you want to know whether he parked at Friend's supermarket in Bulindo, so you need an RFID chip in his car, you need a CCTV camera on the route to his home. Just for those purposes, it's really a political survival tool instead of the security of person and life tool it should be. And that's where, from the beginning, the mistakes are made, because the person recommending such a company is most definitely someone who is listened to by the top echelons of state, and therefore will mislead, no doubt, for his own benefit. Get a briefcase outfit, try to patch up a few networks here in Europe and maybe here in Africa, and ultimately fail. And despite charging such an exorbitantly high and ridiculous price as almost $200 for an RFID-enabled digital number plate. And every country that has tried to implement this is either still piloting or has mostly not really succeeded. California has some sort of system, I think, which has been a bit successful, but there's so many things that are illegal and manifestly unlawful, including under the Data Protection and Privacy Act, that should see this being challenged if we were a constitutionally good country, or one that respects the letter of the law. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. So Daniel speaks about this issue. I want to get it and read what they say about the politics, about their concern about the politics, about here, of capacity of the company issues and capacity of Uganda as a whole to have technology like that. But also they talk about the concerns that this might be looked at as political. So they said, according to the proposed ITS implementation of 2 years to transition to the ITMS number plate system. The deadline coincides with the forthcoming 2026 general elections, period, and is likely to be perceived by members of the public as political rather than security motivated. And that's a letter from ISO to the president. And that is what is captured in the committee of the minority report of the Committee of Parliament, about them looking at it as a way of monitoring and surveilling these politicians during campaigns. But yeah, I don't know if anyone wants to respond to that, or if we should go to the audience and have them contribute. I see Johnny. Before that, did Sempala want to respond to that issue, and also what Wambali said about the company, and the company turns out is impersonating another serious company?
I think if you read the narrative is trying to just how such things have come through. Sometimes, or many times, with the connection probably from the first family and all that, and that's the only way they can be able to probably that thing or even surveying people in real time, and because they have to use companies that are not even there. Because serious companies that use technology do serious things and are go through the due process of procurement, suddenly you can't undermine the law, can't undermine the process of the law.
Alan, your connection is quite poor.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Alan, you are not clear. I think
Alan, you're
there's
barely
an
audible.
issue with your connection.
Sorry? Okay.
You are barely audible. Now you're clear.
Now I'm clear?
Not again, you've gone back, but you are a few minutes back.
Okay, I was saying that about the company.
Better.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Alan, we can. Please carry on.
Oh, no. Certainly, they have to use such companies so that they can probably cut deals, one. Two, they could be able to actually conduct or do all these unnecessary intrusions on people's freedoms.
Alan,
yeah?
you may want to move closer to your microphone if you're not.
I'm actually close to my microphone. I think it's a network issue. Let me try to reconnect.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, Johnny. Carry on.
I'd like to say only one thing. We are assuming that the missteps are by mistake. I'd like to posit that the people in NRM know what they are doing. It is intentional that they get pseudo companies to run such things and pick money from the public purse to create slush funds for politics. Anyone who sees it through any other lens, for want of another word, I think idiot is not too strong. Because anyone who is technically savvy knows that digital plates cannot possibly work. Picking a plate from your vehicle is 30 minutes or maximum 1 hour's work. Making sure someone doesn't know that it moved from your vehicle to another is equally as easy. Because what is the interface between that plate and your car? It can be mimicked. So this digital plates rubbish is just that. Those who are pushing it know it is rubbish. Us who are being sold on it know it is rubbish. So what is the aim? They just want to pick money from the public purse. I don't see any other motivation. I wonder whether you'd see any other motivation.
Okay. Okay. So, Alan, do you want to make a submission now? Can we check if your network is any better? Seems like Alan. Daniel, I'm going to put this question to you. This company being specifically from Russia, yeah. What's at stake, given how much you know about Russia or don't know about Russia? Let me just leave it at that.
If the past 2 or 5 years are anything to go by, what is at stake is basically the future of your country, I think, depending on how white national capital led by the United States interprets any moves or attempts by Uganda to align itself with some of those nefarious forces. But at one point, North Korea was training Ugandans and the Uganda police force, to be specific, and parts of elements of the army. We have excellent relations with Iran, to the extent that we have an Iran-Uganda hospital just next to the police headquarters. So Uganda has been some kind of maverick in terms of its foreign policy, but it's forgiven because we're the mercenary force here in Middle Africa, stretching our tentacles to Central African Republic, Chad, Equatorial Guinea, the DRC, and of course, the biggest theater of all, Somalia, for white multinational capital. So, which is just pocket change for some Wall Street financiers. We can be forgiven for whatever slight we think we are occasioning our masters. So, in that regard, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So, in that regard, I do not think anything Uganda does is really taken seriously in the broader geopolitical picture. Of course, when it touches nerve centers of their political constituents, such as homosexuals, such as the Anti-Homosexuality Act, that one is going to be reacted to quite swiftly and vociferously and very, very vividly or painfully through the economy, Magnitsky sanctions, and etc. For the digital number plates, they don't care. You could hire as well a North Korean company and no one would care. I mean, your stock of vehicles is the oldest in Middle Africa. So no one really cares about this small $50 billion economy until you affect the constituencies back home in the countries that matter, the international rules-based order. So Russia, on the other hand, I think treats us with the contempt we deserve, because apart from when we bought the Suhois and a few other items, they have not really considered us as a serious outfit. They know we talk a lot, but we are not very good at the implementation stage. They could probably have even told this company belonging to one of their parachicks, like, go and deal with those fellows. Because if we really wanted RFID-enabled digital plates, then there's no reason why the presidency couldn't pick up a phone and talk to the Kremlin and ask for Gozniak to come to Uganda and do the work. Again, the Russians will only do what is good for Russia. That's why, for instance, when we gave them the contract for the refinery, they were very quick to jump out because they thought this doesn't make sense in this country for these reasons, and they went away. So they can't, Russia being Russia, I'm not surprised that such a company is the one they could have fronted if they are the ones who fronted it. But I'm certain they didn't, and they also don't care anyway. Like I said, we're a $50 billion economy. It's only in our heads that we think we're something big.
Okay. Yes, we'd ask that the audience ask for microphones at this point. If you're out there, you have a question, you have a comment, please just click that icon to the left of your phone screen, the very last icon, and then we'll get notified that you want the microphone, and makes it easier for us to pass it over to you. I see Agatha is back. I'll hand over to her.
Thanks, Goodwin. Yes, I didn't get the whole of Wambali's submission. The one I got about Russia treating us with the contempt we deserve was but yeah, I guess so. I guess it's the contempt we deserve. There's a question I have on my mind about Russia as a choice. A Russian company that is, from what I've seen, connected to a Russian military company as a choice for this. I don't know who has heard the stories behind the coffee hub, the cafe in Serbia, but also the other dealings with Russia. I remember a company that was brought in to build the refinery and it failed. Was it called RT Global back then in 2013, and everyone knew it had no capacity, but this government insisted on it and kicked out SK from South Korea.
Agatha, your network is unstable. I don't know if it's me.
I am sure it is not you. It has been.
We can hear you, but it's buffering. Okay, please, we can hear you now. Carry on.
Yeah. I was asking. I don't know if Wambali or Christopher can answer that. What I wonder about what it is about this Russian company, like what we're talking about with Buni here, this insistence with President Museveni about it, writing letters to a minister that has barely been sworn in, ignoring reports from his own security companies, his own internal affairs minister, and all that. Is there any particular reason with this insistence in Russia? And I was saying that I last saw that with his insistence on a company called RT Global back in 2013 that was chosen still amidst questions about its capacity to construct the oil refinery. 10 years later, there's no refinery, and it has never commenced. But also looking at the interference in politics, Wagner in Africa and all that, and the coinciding with the next election. Is there any connection with that?
I think you have to feel for the president. One of the most significant parts of his speeches after the 2021 elections was the first one, which could only be probably noticed by military buffs and the military, if you're in the military, was when he quoted Marshal Georgy Zhukov, who was the master of turning Stalingrad into Stalingrad and defeated the German army. And he said, if any foreign forces had come and attacked Kampala, that's what he and the revolutionary forces would have done. It was a very interesting statement because the belief in his mind is that he is so grand and big. He's always given to lots of grand ambitions. So you really feel for him. The second one was that he was going to build a force by 2026 that the UPDF would be built into a force that was second to none. Now, coming from that, you get back to the question of why Russia. His infatuation with trying to have a balance between the West, which he has not trusted since the beginning, or has tried to use. He has tried to use them, but they have always ended up using him in a way. So there's always been that trade-off. They know he doesn't like them. They also mistrust him a little bit, but he's still a very useful tool in their geopolitical interest here in Middle Africa. So there's that balance, and he has always thought there should be a comeuppance. One, he knows that the reason RT Global was chosen is really simple. The four balances to make a superpower include one, the balance of energy. If you have an oil refinery, it's very definite that you can sustain a war on your terms for long periods of time, even if it was spoiled for maybe with a few tomahawks, etc. But also to get the technology in country. Of an oil refinery. And for a determined country, that means you could easily build a few mini refineries as well in times or other places for your war concerns. So that has always been a pet project of his. He needs a refinery because he needs the UPDF to be super strong, and he needs it for reasons of his revolutionary zeal and what he thinks is the grand ambition of Africa, what he calls the center of gravity of Africa. He doesn't think the West means well. That's why on ECOP, he's always been ambivalent. He does, whether it takes off or not is really relevant to him. It has only taken off because Total is vested, it has money in the system, and probably the technocrats in Uganda do believe that is something we need on the ground. Of course, he's interested, but his real pet project is that refinery. So Russia is important in the sense that counterbalances and fits in neatly with his multipolarity view of the world, and the fact that as far as is concerned, Africa is very insecure without a center of gravity. He mentions those words repeatedly, and they've just become part of his popular language in the past 3 to 5 years, really, as he gets into 40 years in power and probably 6 another time in office. So you get into his mind, and then you wonder why then, if he was interested in such pet projects, he always most definitely chooses weird companies such as the joint stock we're talking about, or probably RT Global, which didn't have the financial wherewithal to pull off a $4 billion refinery of such complexity at the time. But also the statistics, economically speaking, back then were really horrible. I don't think the local market or the hinterland favored 60,000 barrels per day refinery back then, and the oil prices were tanking, and there was all this talk in Europe about electric vehicles and etc. So there's always a calculation, and like I said, the Russians are not dense. They will always Russian. They will always only do what is in their best interests. Always, 100%. They are not even like give or take like the Chinese, or probably dump a few goodies like the Westerners do to us. So I do not understand. It has to come, okay, from my own reading of him, it comes from a frustration with not being able to build according to his grandiose ambitions of Africa, but 2, shooting himself in the foot by always insisting on the worst bits possible. You can see it with Hydro Corporation doing Karuma, and China Water and Engineer and Electric doing a Simba Dam, which was something done at State House level. There's always, you wonder like, why? The super companies available at your command as a man of such stature, why are you choosing China Water and Electric, for instance, with its checkered record? Sinohydro you could forgive because eventually Mutikanga Harrison and his boys at UGCL ensured that nothing would go wrong with whatever was going up there at Karuma. But eventually you keep coming to the same realization that
But Daniel,
seems
there's no Karuma about 8 years later.
no,
How do
Karuma
you
is
forgive Sinohydro and not CWE, which has at least delivered Misimba?
Sinohydro's sins are forgivable because in any case, even if they finish the dam, we would be paying for dimmed power because there was no infrastructure to evacuate the power back then. It's actually, in a very counterintuitive way, it is actually good they have delayed because then UETCL and its teams were able to finish the 400 kV, 220 kV, and 132 kV transmission lines to enable the evacuation of the power. And as we speak, 5 units are on board. So hydropower generation is very tough, very tough business. You can imagine the Rusumo power project, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi has taken 11 years for 86 megawatts. We're talking about 600 megawatts at Karuma, and you can forgive Sinohydro. What you can't forgive are the defects of China Water and Electric at Isimba. Those ones, no. But like I said, the man keeps shooting himself in the foot, so it could probably be his own choosing or his own temperament, inadvisable temperament that leads to such outcomes. Because I think he's very strong-headed and tunnel-visioned, and once he thinks he's right, he'll go head-on until probably there is a collision. It has always happened.
Danny, I hope you won't create for us problems. You came on this space and attacked the president and called him big-headed and all those things.
Oh, Lord, that's my fear as well.
Is it?
You may have to issue a statement. And
No, there's no. I don't think he's one to take that to heart. He's not. Tunnel vision is really not let me tell you, his focus is very impressive. A man who can be as focused as him right from his university days, this time about his vision for Uganda, it's impressive. But like I said, any person with that kind of vision, again, is susceptible to not being advised, and that is an issue when you're actually running a country with 46 million souls and who have divergent views, who might have divergent interests, and who have divergent qualifications, who could actually give you proper advice. But once you're that kind of godlike creature, it's very hard to get what you want in time.
I don't know about his vision, but what I agree with you on this is that, yeah, that there is always something he thinks he will benefit from insisting on a project like the one we are discussing now. Whether eventually he benefits, and him as a person, really, not as Uganda. That I have seen over the time. I have paid close attention to things that happen in this country. I see we have one speaker from the audience, so I'm going to allow Richard Magenyi to speak. If we do not have any other, we'll get back to our panelists. I think we also lost one of the panelists, and then conclude the discussion. I see Juliana also wants to speak. Let's begin with Richard and then go to Juliana. Toko, you can hear me, right? I am always on tenterhooks
yes,
here
you're loud
when
and
I
clear.
don't hear from. Yeah, so
But
when I
can't
don't
see-
hear from Richard, I can think that he's not hearing me. But we can, Juliana, you can speak now. We'll see if after that we'll be able to get Richard.
Juliana, you're muted in case you're speaking.
Hi. Thank you so much. I
just wanted to say that I've just listened to Wambale speaking, and I agree with a lot of what he said, but sometimes I think that we credit Museveni with too much. I think we need to factor in that he is geriatric or a man of advanced age, and he is surrounded by opportunists who know who've been part and parcel of the system, and now they've reached a certain period where they can take advantage of his age and the fact that he's not the man that he used to be. And whilst, yes, you can credit him with being very sharp previously, you can't discount the people around him. Part of this, the Jim Mukwezis and the people who are part of this whole number plate thing are part of what many Ugandans call the so-called mafia. And I think it's a factor that is not factored into what's the current discussion. There is a sort of a dark underbelly of particular Ugandans, a lot younger generation, who are actually using the system and the fact that the leader is aging to actually take advantage and make money. So those are the people we don't talk about, but they are part of the system. And I don't think he has as much control as we think he does. I think we need to start examining the second tier of so-called mafioso, or the offspring or whoever is beneath them, because they're very influential. They get a lot of, they kind of sip off, they take a lot of taxpayers' money in all sorts of various schemes. So I would say, especially with things that are like what's just happened with the coffee scandal, there are a lot of much younger people who are part of the darker system that we don't talk about. And I don't think he's completely in charge as he used to be. Maybe there's certain things where he is in charge, and yes, he's a military mind and he knows how to play the West and the East, etc. But there is an element that he is no longer the man he used to be, and his age plays a part, and those around him are taking advantage of that to enrich themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Juliana. Richard, can you hear us now? Are you able to speak?
Yes, I'm able to speak. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you for the space, and this is a really good discussion going on. I have a simple observation as an individual. Okay, I would like to think that this whole digital plates project and the reasons behind it that are being advanced, I would like to believe that there's smoke screen, because when you really try to look at it closely, there's so many things that don't add up. And it looks like security was the easiest selling point to be advanced. But actually, there's something quite deeper behind this whole project. There's a famous journalist who has always described the president that he started his projects like 10, 20 years ahead, before anybody knows it. So that's my humble submission. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Yes, I don't think we have any other people from the audience that want to contribute, so I'll get back to Buni, and also if somebody wants
Agatha?
to say something to conclude. Yeah.
Agatha, there are two requests.
Okay. Please allow them.
One from Mugabe Ivan. I've added him as a speaker.
Okay.
And Johnny. I've also added him as a speaker. I don't know if they are able to speak.
We have a Johnny that had already submitted. I don't know if it's the same one. And yeah, it's the same one, Musingzi. But let's go to Mugabe and see if Johnny has something he forgot to say. Maybe.
Hello?
Johnny, can you allow Mugabe Ivan to speak first?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, the host, Agatha. And thank you, the various presenters. This is a very interesting topic, and I've been listening through to what the various presenters have submitted. But I think it maybe raises some also intriguing questions. One, whether we can sort of benchmark, because before anything is done, we should even ask ourselves, has it even been done anywhere? And if so, how would they go about it? Because I think there are many cases where, and I mean, we may go back to 2023 and pinpoint various instances of where maybe there has been certain projects which have involved maybe abuse or which have actually been misused. And I think what is very evident here is that probably public money is involved. And I think for any institutions or for any sort of entity to progress, the moment projects or some of these activities involve money which the public, which actually contributes to this particular revenue, feels they are not being done appropriately, then definitely we have a concern there and we have a problem. So I think in one way or another, it's a question of whether if we are to do a comparative analysis, this sort of similar project of number plates has happened elsewhere. And that may raise questions, where did it even come from? So there are questions on its objectives, its long-term and short-term objectives, on probably its likely consequences. These are areas which are relatively vague and a little ambiguous, and that's why it remains undeniably controversial and indisputably problematic. Thank you, Agatha.
Thank you, Ivan. I think Bunny spoke a bit about where it has worked, or
basically, I think the electronic license plates, the ones at least we know, were patented in 2002, and they have a company in California called Reviver that has rolled it to 3 states, I think, Arizona, Michigan, and California. California still uses it, that one I'm starting. But apart from those, and maybe Bangladesh and Malaysia, there are few countries outside that sphere that are using RFID-enabled plates at scale.
Well, thank you, Daniel, for that clarification. Johnny, did you forget to say something earlier?
Good evening, everyone, and Agatha, and Toko, and the rest. I entered this space a bit later, and I apologize because I'm in Kanungu. So I tried to get to my opinion without telling you the basis of that opinion.
Okay.
I am a civil engineer, but actually I'm a bit of a nerd. So many times we develop technology that has not been proven to be foolproof. And many times it gets broken. And then you have to redesign that technology. So even banks, when they put out a technology that's so-called new, it's been tested for 10, 20 years before they put it out to the public. And then that technology fails and they keep on trying to refine it. So when you're doing your mobile banking, internet banking, it has been tested over time, and then it gets beaten by thieves who discover loopholes. So when you bring to someone something like a digital plate Saga, this is a technology that is in the outside of a car, not protected, open to weather. That tells me that really, if you're in California where every road is tarmac, it's different. But in Uganda, where we sometimes get our roads submerged, full of mud, I want to say that we are maybe not talking about the real issue here. Someone making that assertion in Uganda that they want digital plates is not about security, really. Because if they were looking at that as an option, it would be the last option they'd look at. There are other low-hanging fruit of trying to make us more secure. So why digital plates? Among many things, they tell us we're going to get more secure. We give them money. And that's why they're not getting reputable companies. Instead, they're getting companies that are sham. Because the interest is not in making us more secure. So you need to ask yourself, what is the actual interest? I think that's where we should concentrate. Thank you very much.
So, Msinguzi, what do you think the interest is?
The
I
interest
will allow
is to
you to
create.
speculate.
No, I'm actually not only speculating. I'm telling you that your history tells you that they're creating a slush fund. Your history tells you this. Can I give you examples?
Yes.
When you look at the history of such grandiose projects, what comes to your mind? One very simple example would be when you have your national driving permit. Previously, it was very inefficient, cost so much. Face technologies. When you look at the person who is printing security printing right now, all those are ways to free up money. And I still think that is the same thing that's happening right now. I hope I've been clear.
Agatha, Agatha's dropped. Okay, let's go back to Buni. Buni, please make your concluding remarks. We are well past our time and we have to wrap this up. So, Buni.
Hello. I hope I'm still on and audible. So my concluding remarks. First and foremost, I would like to thank one of the speakers who confirmed the information that I have, that the joint stock company that we have doing the digital number plates is not the Russian industrial complex company that is well known in Russia for doing a lot. This is a scam of a company that does not exist with any physical offices anywhere, and is just being used by particular people here, either for their personal gain as retirement benefits of the political power that they wield in this country for generations to come, or for whatever other reasons that we are not so sure about. Concerning the technical feasibility, as also the previous speaker has said, this is something that is just at a test out phase, really. The technology does not support it for the real-time tracking that we have been lied to about. It could be on-spot check at particular checkpoints. Yes, it could work, but we don't have the financial muscle. Neither do we have the infrastructure in place in terms of electricity, in terms of connectivity to enable these antennas work countrywide. So that's still another fallacy that we have. Concerning how the company comes in to get this deal, I do not know whether people are taking advantage of the president, whether he has not done enough due diligence like we have done on this company, or it's within his personal interest that it particularly goes this way. And from a political strategy side of it, someone could say it's just government trying to look for ways to bring in a new stream of revenue to fund the government. If they're going to make some good number of millions over the years, and this figure goes well into maybe 2 trillion shillings addition to our national budget per year, I think there are other things and other ways that could be done to raise this amount of money for government other than such a scheme. This scheme from the
Agatha, we've lost Boone, it seems.
Okay. I think we're concluding. So in case we don't get him back, Daniel, do you want to say something as we end?
Yes. Thank you so much. Only pet peeve is that we have the world that, I don't know, how do they call it? We have everything within our means to make everything else work. But somehow have chosen the worst of the worst to try and implement a project as crucial, at least according to what we are told by the leadership, as the digital plates. The information, Buni made something about due diligence. I don't think we who are just using cheap Chinese-made Androids have as much access to information as the leadership would have in terms of due diligence. So that's why it is a shock. And it is strange that they could choose such a company which was running bankrupt and a textile supplier to some lousy regions in Russia instead of, say, joint stock Goznak. But be that as it may, it again speaks to our PPDA regime, whether it's good to whether our frustrations with the PPDA regime and its lengthy processes should be circumvented by such quick, decisive action that ultimately is leading us to one company after the other diddling the Ugandan taxpayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for your contribution to the space on such short notice call. Buni, are you
Am
back?
I still on?
We had lost
Yes,
you.
I am. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. As my colleague Daniel has put it, we get caught up when such things come up concerning the credibility of the company, and it's a big question because you would expect that state resources are much more powerful and much more effective than we individuals going around. But the information we are putting on table then makes us question the motive behind the digital number plates. As I said, politically, maybe if someone is looking to raise money, just to raise funds, about 2 trillion addition to our budget per financial year coming from this, then there are other ways that can be thought about other than scheming a whole country of an unnecessary thing such as this. And the challenge that we have with such hashed things is that what happens if we have incidents happening immediately after implementation of this project? You implement the digital number plates today, and then tomorrow another guy is gunned down, and then on the third day another person is killed, possibly in 2-3 months or 1 year. And then shall you then have an answer to tell people on why exactly you implemented this and why it's not working out as you had expected? In terms of government implementing this project, which is my last point, we have so far had about 4 postponements. Today is another postponement. They promised 1st of February. I just want to put out a public call to Ministry of Works and all those that are in charge of this project, that today is 1st of February. We are waiting for you and we're waiting to see what you can do. And we wish you the very best in this implementation. We shall be here to remind you that we told you. Thank you.
Thank you, Buni. Are you waiting in the remaining 2 hours before 1st of February passes? I think for me, what was the funniest maybe is that they didn't even have the decency to have a press conference and say what happened. But like I said, this is one of those projects that their failure should be where we should be our happiness really. And you were talking about connectivity, connectivity in terms of internet and electricity that you'd need for implementing a project like this. So I'm going to tell you a story about how today I moved 7 kilometers from my father's house to look for network, and it still was terrible. Still, the connection was terrible. But I could see even for you, Buni and Daniel, who are probably not in the village like I am, were struggling. And that's the kind of connectivity we want to use to roll out this digital number plates project in the entire country. But thank you all for being part of the space. Thank you, Buni, for always helping simplify these issues for us. Thank you, Danielle, for your insights on the space tonight. We have not yet stopped here. I think there's something we haven't found, and at Agora we want to continue looking until we find it. So we'll probably have an article once we find who exactly is behind joint stock, MS joint stock. What exactly is the purpose? I have heard many people, including Johnny here, saying it's a slush fund. Well, I think Museveni has many other sources of money. It could be a slush fund, it could be politics related, it could be, that these people will have access to our data and use it however they want when they need numbers and whatever, which is still elections and stuff. It could be many things, and as hoping we can still find something. But we'll probably have another space if we get any more information about this. And we will wait to see what the ministries of Works and Transport and Security will say about this 4th or 5th failure to meet their own deadlines that they set. Thank you very much for always being a wonderful audience every week. And thank you for being part of these discussions. Thank you, the team at Agora, for putting this together, and have a good evening, everyone.